Hello again, fine employees of the Urban Ecology Center. This is Mark Bissonette, your friendly local IT guy, and this is yet another informational video on a subject that many an IT guy has held near and dear to his heart, if by near and dear you instead meant something like a creeping sense of dread or uh, something that would lurk under one's pillow at night or so. I don't know. My analogizer's broken. But this is about phishing. This is the concept of sending a surreptitious email to somebody in the hopes of gaining access to their personal information or the personal information of an organization to which they are affiliated. And as you might know, we are an organization, um, so it's best to practice certain procedures in the dealing with of emails. Yes, I am an English major. So I'm just gonna sort of jump right into it because I feel that this should be elementary to most, so really more of a refresher course here. But obviously, you know, when you see a thing like this, there should be some red flags that are raised. Who is this Wilson? Do you know Wilson? Did you ever receive a receipt from this individual? Were you expecting a receipt from this individual? If no in any of these queries, then you probably should not be clicking on this document here. You might say to yourself, Mark, PDFs, they're a read-only file. Like, there's no way that a PDF could do in my computer just by the simple act of viewing it. To that I would say, they can. Yeah, you should be afraid. Afraid of most file types actually. Doc files can contain macros. PDFs have well-known exploits with older legacy versions of readers. Um, Even simple text files, if opened in a particular way, can execute arbitrary commands on the end station. So, is ever somebody sharing something with you? In this case, sharing is not caring. You should generally be aware, unless you are super sure that that individual is somebody who is sending you a thing that you were expecting. So I'm just going to go through some things that I've just gotten in my email today. So um, I've got I've got them classified by increasing threat level. So let's just get right into it. This is the first attempt of the day from Miss Juliana. No, I guess it was 3 days ago. Miss Juliana. Hi, is this Bissonette.mark? Question, question, question. Honestly, this is a pretty. She was really phoning it in, Juliana here. Just the just the question marks. I mean, that terrifies me. What is beyond this hyperlink? Who knows? The darkest recesses of the internet. That is obviously a very low level spam attempt. So this one, he's ramping it up a little bit. um, this is the second time sending this notification. Please contact our diplomatic agent, Mr. Richard Peterson. Now that sounds like a nice guy, Mr. Richard Peterson. He definitely is like a priest or something, probably. Yeah. Name, address, phone number, age, occupation. Wow. They're uh they're just looking for like Facebook level telemetry. I I I don't even know what they would do with that. I don't know oh, be quiet, Alexa. Um I don't know why he's gonna be landing here with $12 million. That is quite fortuitous for me. I mean, wow, with just that code, just Richard Peterson. I could have a card full of just millions of dollars. What a great day to be alive. Also, pretty trenched here. And Google's flagged this one, so this is perhaps a little bit more sophisticated. So let's see here. Contact you following the reports received an anti-fraud monitoring group. Oh my. I don't want any fraud happening in my email. Truly. What a nightmare. What can I do to ameliorate this situation? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Payment through an ATM or Mr. Obi Solomon. Sounds like an evil genie. Might very well be one. Yeah. Full name, country, delivery address, telephone. Certainly no one could do anything bad with any of that information. But as you can see, that's also pretty low sophistication level. However, it probably got flagged because it's got the beginnings of, syntax and spelling, so that could theoretically evolve into something dangerous. But obviously, most folks, most spam filters even won't be caught out by such a thing. So you might ask yourself, why why bother with videos such as this? I know all this. This is just the simplest of things. Well, it's just good to reinforce habits because habits over time. I mean, if you begin clicking on things, if you are one of those, your weird uncle or something like that, 1 out of 5 every 5 spam messages, one of them gets opened. So the reason they send these out is because they are effectual in the long term. Eventually, they will get somebody on the hook, and they will endeavor through various schemes, uh, whaling, which would be going after the CEO, using that for wire transfers. There's emotive, touchy-feely, pretend to be your boyfriend style scams, mostly Nigerian for that. Finance scams, um, mostly Ukrainian, mostly a particular town in Ukraine that I can't remember at this particular time. Um, there's many vectors, and you might not be expecting um, the newest, the latest, the greatest. So it's best to practice incredulity. So, there's just other things too, unforeseen exigencies like this whole Google Docs situation here. Um, that actually hooked into the API of Google. API, for those who are not in the know, is Application Platform Interface. So, between the various cloud-based applications that Google has, there is these hooks that allow these various disparate programs to talk to one another. And what this thing exploited was the way that you actually authorize apps in their security settings, similar to how you would add an app in an Android application environment, except with their cloud services. So once this spurious email was received and you authorized it to utilize the various components of your web web programs under the Google umbrella, then basically it would have full access to execute code in the cloud and then rip through your contacts list and attempt to spread itself. So basically, it's a worm. It's not a virus per se. However, um, it was a very interesting proof of concept, basically, of Google's intrinsically lax security paradigm for the authorization of apps. So, I mean, sometimes I would even call that sort of like a gray hat. It's bringing to Google's attention the fact that there is something wrong. However, I am sure that the information they garnered from such an attack was used in an improper manner because that's just the kind of thing that I would expect from people, script kiddies, that would do such a thing. So there's always a reason that one should be leery of your email. So how can you determine if the site or the domain that it is being sent from is invalid? First, you want to check for HTTPS right here. So that indicates that the site is operating with secure socket layer. And Google, Microsoft, other big companies, big actors in the space, they want the entire web to move to HTTPS, which honestly it should have done about 5 years ago. And they're going to start freezing out sites even, or rather putting up a very gnarly, scary screen when you attempt to connect to just a plain Jane vanilla HTTPS or HTTP site in lieu of HTTPS, sorry. But if they've got HTTPS enabled, that means they've got a security certificate, and a security certificate is authorized by various organizations around the globe. And so if you have a website, you can apply for the security certificates, and if you are authorized and vetted by these organizations, then you will receive one. So if you have a self-signed certificate, it's going to trigger an error. So sometimes if you're hosting services on your internal network and you didn't want to bother with getting a certificate, well, that would be triggered and you can just click through it. Like Chris going to his HVAC site or something such as that. But generally, that's a good indicator. The first thing, HTTP as opposed to HTTPS, equals bad news. And then just looking at the actual site itself and seeing if that is actually a separate sovereign website unto itself. Ugh, gross. I'm on the verge. Google News. Trump. Trump, Trump, Trump. I give most news about 5 seconds these days, and if it says the word Trump, I turn it off. So, valid domain, HTTPS. Another thing would be the name itself, um, aside from the domain that it's originating from. Like, who is Gu Saluki? Is he a lunch meat? Is it a lunch meat? I don't know. But it is nobody that I have daily dealings with, so, and is not someone whom I expect an email from. So I should naturally ratchet up my wariness level by like DEFCON 4, code black, something. It's definitely nothing. Be quiet, Alexa. I am not talking to you. That's my Alexa thing in the background. Often she thinks that I'm talking to her when I'm not. And she should just sit there and be lonely. So, aside from the domain, the name, the heading, the subject, is it a subject that sounds strange, anomalous, something like that? Is it a um is it a thing that you were perhaps expecting? Um, legit companies, not a spell. Yeah. So this guy, surprisingly, you know, surprisingly good spelling. So it depends on the type of scam they're running. If they are attempting to target stupid people, they will actually lower their level of spelling ability, which seems strange. Like most of these guys, these Nigerian princes, actually know how to spell quite well. They're quite capable in English. They'll actually dial it back to a certain level that most people who are literate will be able to discern as being a little bit off. However, people of the scammable level of IQ, we'll say around 80 or so, they might read that and say, that sounds great. Wow, I would like free money. And they'll go for it. So as soon as they get one of these people of the lower end of the spectrum, um, on the hook, then they'll assign about 5 guys to basically create some kind of narrative to sell this person to really sell them hard, because they to spend more time on people who are more liable to pay out is simply good sense. If you have 100 people and one or two of them actually respond to your email and they're of the subset of people that are um, vulnerable to these kind of tactics, then that's exactly the kind of email you want to send out. Which is craven, I know, but that's them. That's not me. Um, but yeah, most real companies will have good spelling. They won't call you um, necessarily for your sense. Like if they did require your information, they would perhaps seek it through other avenues like phone calls and such. Um, because it is typically illegal for them to solicit such information over email in a cold call, cold email kind of way. Um, they generally wouldn't force you to their website, and they would know your name generally. Companies that do have business dealings with you. So instead of sir, madam, they would say actually your name. Um, so just be careful, be aware, be wily like a fox, and just keep it cool out there, and do not open any attachments that you think might be suspect. Um, because then I'll just have to come and clean it up, and I don't want that. You don't want that. Maybe you do. 15-minute coffee break. I don't know, but it's bad news. Don't do it, please. All right. So thanks for your attention. Um, I'll try to have more interesting visuals in subsequent videos, but I feel that this could be exposited pretty well with just the spoken word. So thank you. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you guys around the center.